Hey guys, it is so good to be back once again. It is so good. I'm so happy to be in front of a camera once again, which is a very unique thing to say, by the way. But it feels so good regardless because I am here doing what I love the most. So yeah, there has been so much going on this past season. Of course, the season has already ended, particularly the Premier League, and it was a unique one, might I add. So let's go straight into it. What fans feared for the most has finally happened. Yeah, it took me days to recover from this, and I'm being sincere. It isn't because I didn't like the team. It's just that I grew up not liking them, so maybe I don't like them after all. But congratulations to them, anyways. I mean, their dark football eventually paid off. Doing absolutely nothing but defending after scoring a goal. Props to them. Like one of the best coaches of all time said, defense wins you titles. And yeah, they stuck by it. I honestly don't have any problem with it. So many teams these days, particularly the big teams in the Premier League this past season, they got to concede so many goals in open play, corners, and whatnot. It's something that has happened really frequently. And talking about us now, the Premier League, which they just won, was totally deserved, absolutely deserved because it has been a long time coming. It always looked like they had a sniff, but eventually it just slipped right out of their hands. And they are like, oh, we go again next season, we go again next season. And I feel like it is that kind of mentality that they had that also helped them, even when they didn't have the best players, some of the best players in the league. Because I know a lot of fans will agree with me that they have good players, but I can name about three teams that have like way better players in certain positions. So when it gets to that point, we can't even talk about individual brilliance, even if we know one or two players chipped in brilliant performances all through the season. I'm talking Saliba, Gabriel, David Raya. I feel like he was their best player this past season. He was absolutely instrumental to what they won, and also the defense in general, really, really good. And the name of the clan Rice can't go without saying. Also did absolutely well, delivered a good number of assists, probably their highest this season. And also Jokeres did very well in his first season, hitting good numbers. I mean, it obviously could have been better, but knowing the kind of team Arsenal are, they play football like their defense first. All things considered, it's a difficult environment for a striker to be in, especially one that excels in transitional phases, in transitional actions. There's little to none of that going on in this Arsenal team, but he still went ahead to score some nice goals in the box. So that makes him one of their instrumental players in winning this trophy. But then the ultimate praise goes to Mikel Arteta. It took him a lot of patience to get to where he is now. So he's one of the elite managers right now in the world of football. I mean, you can understand why a team like Madrid was interested in him. He has been a very, very detailed and tactical coach. And he made sure that he drilled these players. He did it and he did it well. So not every coach can do that. Right now, we have coaches who I believe, that's just my own sense of belief when it comes to football. I believe in platforming your players in the right base, having the right base rather to make them excel way more than having to give them like tactical details to start delving into when they're on the pitch. They are thinking, they are overthinking. I like it when players have that base that, oh, we just have to get the ball out of the back, build up properly, or if we are going long, we are going long. Let's just get the ball into the final third, and then whatever we get from there, it is all in our hands. I believe in that style of play so much. But Ateta came in and then he made sure he drilled these guys and then he got the best out of them. And not every coach can do that. I repeat, not every coach can do that. So massive credit to him. Massive credit to him, honestly. He's a very influential person and he hasn't failed to show that. So congratulations Arsenal, congratulations Mikel Arteta, and congratulations also on your first Premier League title in 22 years and also your last. because it is never going to happen again. So now let's talk about Tottenham a bit. They just survived relegation. It was between them and West Ham, and unfortunately for West Ham, I feel like they've tried really really well so far. I feel like they competed. I mean, they won Conference League, was it not 2 seasons ago, and now they found themselves relegated. I feel like if they had probably stuck with Moyes, or had probably gotten a way better option that they did in, I think, Graham Potter, it would have been a blast from there. I feel like they would have had a better chance of, you know, pushing on. But unfortunately for them, they only went downhill for them. The same could be said for Tottenham. Imagine after having a brilliant season and then the ball just goes ahead to mess it all up from there. Looking at who Tottenham got to sign, Thomas Frank, what a very decent reputation. So to an extent, you could say that he probably deserved the Tottenham job because he did exceptionally well with Brentford, and considering that Tottenham had more financial power, you'll be hoping that they'll probably get good players. They were in the Champions League. They could have gone for really good players that would have, kickstarted off their journey, probably challenge for top four or the Premier League in coming years. It's just terrible because this is football, and in football, you don't get to make mistakes, especially mistakes like this. These are mistakes that can, can cost you money, can cost your reputation, can cost your trust with the fans, which Tottenham, they failed in every bit of it. I expected way more from them in terms of their recruitment, in the kind of players that they were, looking out to get. I expected way more. Imagine having to go for a player like Kolomwani. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but is it what they need? No. I feel like if they had really, looked into it, they signed some decent players, obviously, but all things considered, looking at Kevin Danso, good player. Do not get me wrong in any way. These are good players, but if you are looking out to compete from where you left off and looking at where you left off, if it wasn't a bad position in any way, winning an European trophy is an extremely good position to kickstart things off from. To be honest, if they had been relegated, it would have been totally deserved, I believe, because after they sacked Thomas Frank, I believe they even delayed in sacking him. After sacking him, look at the replacements that they got. You got Tudor. If at all you are going for an interim, you can't tell me that there are no managers that are better than this guy out there. Okay, sure, I might not know their names currently, but there's no way I would get to look into it like the Tottenham board did. Fortunately for them, they escaped. They escaped. I don't think they'll have this same luck next time, especially if they get to make more mistakes like this. I mean, they are probably even about to make one as I speak. I see that they are interested in Manchester City's Sabinho, good player, very silky dribbler. But that is all that there is to his game. He's technical, also injury prone. Maybe not as much as Madison or Kudus, but he is, and he doesn't have that end product that you'd expect from a team like Tottenham, who are looking to have a good season after this baffling one. These are the issues. I feel like there are way better players to, look out for, players that can instantly elevate the ceiling of your team. I mean, the players that we're looking at right now in Tottenham, these are players that can probably just, elevate the floor, and that's just about it, not the ceiling. Going for a player like Savin, who is just like having another Oderbert. Sure, they are different players, but they are also quite, similar. I believe Oderbert probably even has, a better potential than him. Looking at the fact that I played for a very good team in Manchester City, and he struggled for a while, struggled to get going, in games, he makes certain decisions, and then you are wondering how. I mean, I watched this guy at Girona. I don't know what happened to him, to be honest. I watched him at Girona, and I saw that he did well. He did well to a very good extent. Probably worth bringing him to Manchester City, but so far, he hasn't lived up to that expectation. I just can't see how it's going to benefit them. I feel like that's probably one of the reasons that West Ham even got relegated. Like I said, West Ham, they did so well in these recent years to stay up. Same could be said about Everton. But looking at West Ham particularly, they had similar issues of signing players that raised their floor, not their ceiling. Good players, and that's just about it. When you look at their potential, it is just, probably a level higher, and that's just about it. Not world class potential or anything like that. In football, one thing that I've come to realize is if you get an opportunity or an advantage to have a brilliant season. I'm talking about getting European qualification. It could be Conference League, depending on the size of the team. But for a team like West Ham, who won the Europa League, not the Conference League, so that's even a step higher. And looking at how they had a brilliant season with David Moyes, I know that in the Premier League they didn't perform as well. After winning the Europa League, you would expect that they would try to test the waters for players that will be willing to join them. But looking at how that window went, to an extent, it was decent. Now they have a certain Pablo in their team who can't even score a goal. This is the Premier League we're talking about. You cannot have these kind of players and you expect to compete. There is no chance at all. But I could name one or two brilliant signings, and that's just about it. Thank you all so much for watching. It's always a privilege to be in your faces, and that will never stop. That will never end. Thank you, and God bless you.